Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper analysis. So, we have taken up important news and articles from The Hindu and Indian Express newspaper dated 16th November 2023, New Delhi edition. And as the practice goes, we have segregated the discussion into two parts, that is, prelims discussion and mains discussion. So we have taken up four topics for the prelims discussion and two topics from the perspective of mains discussion. So first topic that we have taken up for prelims section is related to APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, because there is a scheduled meeting in San Francisco, and amid all the geopolitical tension around the globe, people are keeping and experts are keeping an eye over this seminar. Second, we have taken up a topic of worldwide governance indicator, which is published by World Bank, and our chief economic advisor has raised some concern related to these indicators. Another topic we have taken up is the parliamentary sessions because of developments in the state of Punjab, and these session and devices are more or less similar in the state legislature as well as in the parliament, that is at central level. Fourthly, we have taken up a topic which is based on an unfortunate road accident which occurred in Chenab Valley. People have lost their lives, so we have taken up a prelims pointer based on a map location. Moving further, for the mains, we have covered the tribal issues because there was a news related to Pradhan Mantri launching, rather say not launching, but allocating a huge amount of fund for a existing scheme or mission related to the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. So that is important from the perspective of your prelims examination, but in order to cover the mains topic, we have taken up the tribal issues as whole. And lastly, we have taken up the inspiration for this federalism topic is from an article which featured in the explained section, where author has shed light on the outcome in terms of economic impact of the strains in the relation between center and states. So let us begin our discussion with the prelims section. So as we discussed, the first news that inspires our first question is based on this news, which featured on page number 15 of the Indian Express newspaper. And as we told that 2023 Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting is scheduled in San Francisco, USA. And apart from other issues, all eyes are on Biden, that is US President, and Xi Jinping meeting, that Chinese premier, amid all the tensions which the China and US has been involved with in previous past. So if you will look at the UPSC question, UPSC is always interested in regional groupings and international organization, whether it is multilateral, bilateral, or anything, or any organization you may say which impacts interest of India directly or indirectly, as in 2015 it has given three options and asked you a question based on the membership of India. So we have taken up a question based on Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, that is EPIC, and you have to identify the correct statements. So the first statement says that it is an intergovernmental regional forum established in the year 1989. So this statement is correct, as this is an intergovernmental regional forum with an aim of sustainable, inclusive, and balanced growth for the people of the region by assimilating the economies on both shores of Pacific Ocean. Second statement says Bogor goals serve as the fundamental framework for APEC's vision and objective. Now, this is also a correct statement. And Bogor goals, why is the name? Because these goals were adopted at Bogor, which is a city in the Java province of Indonesia. And yes, it serves as the fundamental framework for EPEC. Third statement says both India and China are its member state. Now, this statement is incorrect as India is not a member while China is, as news suggests. The last statement says that all the members have an equal voting share and the decisions are made by consensus. Now, this statement is again correct that every member has a equal vote and decisions are made by consensus. So, as you had to find the correct statements, our answer would be C. That is, three statements are correct while one is incorrect. Inspiration for the next prelims question is based on this news article, which featured on page number 13 of Indian Express newspaper. Now, the chief economic advisor, as I told you, has raised concern over the legitimacy of the World Bank's governance indicators. And he emphasized the need for the World Governance Index to be more transparent and less subjective. Now, why we have taken up this topic? Because again, it involves India as a party, and Indian government is taking a stand against this index. And previously, UPSC has been asking question based on various reports and index, whether they will ask the publisher of the report or they will ask some details regarding the report, as they asked about the indicators that are used in global hunger index report in the year 2016. Okay, so we have taken up a practice MCQ on the same line where we have made our basis the indicators that have been used in this governance index or indicators. So you have to identify which of the following are the indicators that this report considers. So option one is absence of violence. Second is independence of judiciary. Now third is control of corruption, and fourth is effectiveness of parliament. So let us cover this topic from the perspective of prelims. As I told you that this indicator is published by the World Bank, and these are designed to help researchers and analysts assess broad patterns in perception of governance across countries and over time. Now, interesting part is that to make it a comprehensive one, because our chief economic advisor has raised a question regarding the transparency and comprehensiveness of this report. This report collects data from various private organizations, NGOs, okay, and further, it also aggregates data from various think tanks just to make these indicators comprehensive. This is their claim. Okay. So it provides ranking of around 215 countries, and six dimensions of governance are covered in this indicator. First is voice and accountability. Second is political stability and absence of violence. Third is government effectiveness. Fourth is regulatory quality. Fifth is rule of law. And sixth is control of corruption. Now, coming back to the question, now you already know that absence of violence and control of corruption are the criteria, while independence of judiciary and effectiveness of parliament is not a criteria. So, as you had to find how many of the above options are correct, our answer would be B. That is only two. So, moving on to the next question, which is based on this news article, which featured on page number 3 on the Hindu newspaper. Now, in Punjab, there is an interesting development where repetitive use of adjournment sign die, and I will not tell this term right now because question is based on this concept only. So, due to the repetitive use of adjournment sign die in Punjab Assembly, instead of proroguing the Punjab Assembly, The Assembly Secretariat has wrote to the governor of the state to prorogue the budget session. Now, I hope that you might have clarity about the what is proroguing of session, what is dissolution of house altogether, what is adjournment, and what is adjournment sine die. Because UPSC always prefer to ask question based on important key understanding related to polity and governance. Parliament is one of the favorite theme. As you can see in 2020 itself, it has asked a question based on uh, various devices or the procedures during the sessions of the parliament. So we have taken up a MCQ based on the devices, parliamentary devices. uh, in column 1 you have been provided 4 different devices, and column 2 uh, talks about them in detail, brief detail. So you have to find how many of the pairs are correctly matched. So first is adjournment. Now you know that adjournment is kind of terminating of a sitting of parliament, not session, sitting of a parliament for a definite period, because adjournment gives some specific time frame after which the assembly sitting will reassemble for the meeting. Okay, it may be few hours, it may be days, it may be weeks, but it will specify the time of reassembly. While the option is given that terminating a sitting of parliament for an indefinite period, now this pair is incorrectly matched. Same is true for the second one, because it defines that adjournment sine die is a termination of sitting of parliament for a definite period, which is not true. Rather, adjournment sine die is termination without specifying the period of reassembly. So both these options were interchanged. So both A and B are incorrect. And the authority to decide upon adjournment and adjournment sine die or declare these two instruments or devices is speaker, or you may say the presiding officer of the respective house. Now option C says prorogue. Prorogue says terminates both the sitting as well as session of the house. Now this is correct. Now this power lies uh, with the now this power lies with the president. When the presiding officer kind of adjourns the session sine die, then after passing of some time, president by a notification under article 85 subclause 2 declares prorogation of house. Now dissolution is again an power of president exercised by president, which results into uh, end of life of the existing house, and new house is formed after general election. So both C and D are correctly matched while A and B are not. So our answer would be B, that is only 2. So last question from the prelims perspective is based on this news article, which featured on page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper. And 39 people have lost their life in a road accident where a bus fell into deep gorge in Chenab Valley. And UPSC is always has always asked question based on map location or geographic features of places which are in news. And interestingly, UPSC in every year has asked question based on river basins of India, important rivers of India, whether it is east flowing, west flowing, Ganga basin, tributary of Ganga. Or as you can see in 2021, they have asked a question based on the Indus River basin. So we have taken a question based on Chenab River system, and you have to identify the correct statements. Now, the first statement says that Chenab River originates in Uttar Kashi district of Uttarakhand state. Now, this statement is incorrect, as Chenab originates near Baralachala Pass, which is which lies in Lahul Spiti Valley, which is part of Zaskar range. Okay, so first statement is incorrect. Second statement says Chenab Valley lies between the Middle Himalayas and Shivaliks. This statement is again incorrect because it lies between Middle Himalaya and Greater Himalayas. That is in Jammu region, Jammu and Kashmir. Third statement says it hosts the world tallest railway bridge. Yes, this statement is correct because it is around 1200-meter tall railway bridge, which lies on an important railway route from Udhampur via Srinagar to Baramulla. And calculation claim that combined height of a Statue of Liberty, it is much higher than the combined height of a Statue of Liberty as well as Eiffel Tower of Paris, and stands at around 1200 meter. So as you had to find the correct statement, only one statement is correct. Our answer would be A, that is only one. Fine. So that's all from the perspective of prelim section. Let us move on to discuss our mains topic. And as we discussed that this news featured in both Indian Express and the Hindu newspaper, where PM Modi has launched a mission for most backward of the scheduled tribe, which we call PVTGs, that particularly vulnerable tribal groups. And corpus is around 24,000 crore. And he announced this program in Jharkhand, a program in Jharkhand, where he attended a program commemorating the birth anniversary of great tribal leader Birsa Munda. Fine. So, if you will refer to the previous year UPSC question, tribal issues and topic of tribals are important from both prelims and mains perspective. As you all know, your GS paper 2 mentions the syllabus of vulnerable section of population. Tribal group is one of them. Further, if you will see the 2019 UPSC prelims paper, there was a direct question based on PVTGs itself. Now try to attempt this question and let us know your answer in the chat box or the comment box. Further, if you will look into the mains examination, tribal issues are again important. As in 2017, UPSC has asked question that what are the two major legal initiative by the state since independence addressing discrimination against scheduled tribes. Fine. Secondly, UPSC in 2021 has asked a question that examine the uniqueness of tribal knowledge systems when compared with mainstream knowledge and cultural system. This question was asked in 2021. So here in this discussion, we will be quickly looking into this PMPVTG mission from the perspective of prelims examination. Then we will briefly look into what are PVTGs and what are the criterias to select them. Then we will go on to cover the major topic, that is tribes in India, where we will cover what are the features, salient features, which you can associate with the tribal population, what are their challenges, and then we will see a way forward which is based on the observations and suggestions of a high level committee. You all may know about it, the Khaka committee. Okay, so let us begin our discussion with the understanding that what is this mission all about. Now, pay focus on this mission, because while discussing in way forward, you will find that this mission is pretty much in line with what has been recommended by Khaga Commission. Okay, so PVTG mission, as the name suggests, that particularly vulnerable tribal group mission, is kind of multidisciplinary action plan in which the main aim is to provide a last mile delivery of welfare schemes and protection of PVTGs. Now, it encompasses various basic amenities like road connectivity, the telecommunication, health, which includes their nutritional need also, apart from health infrastructure. Further, it also includes the education aspect, safe housing, safe drinking water and hygiene. So, practically, it is kind of an holistic mission which will decide upon the need of a particular area or a particular location or a need of particular group, and it will invest or it will direct the fund in that direction only. Okay, and it encompasses all the all the criteria, basic needs which are required to uplift the positions or a position of particularly vulnerable tribal group. Now, what is PVTG? The second part of the discussion. Like you might have heard about the subcategorizations or subcategorization of OBCs, SC, ST, where few section of their population is more vulnerable than others in the same category. Like there are extremely backward classes under the category of other backward classes. In similar fashion, PVTGs are the most vulnerable group among the already vulnerable tribal groups. Okay, so first initiative, you may say, first streamlined and formalized initiative was taken in the year 1973, where Debar Commission termed them as primitive tribal groups, PTGs. Now, this again, the criteria remains the same, but name changed in the year 2006, and government termed them as PVTGs, that is, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Now, they are presently, their number lies at 75, and they are mostly, their spread is in around 18 states and one union territory. However, there are six major states where there is a there is large concentration of PVTG's population. Which are those states? Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, and sorry, there are seven states, including Chhattisgarh also. There are total seven states which hold or which boast the largest population of PVTGs. Now, Odisha has the highest number of PVTGs among all states. So, these were the basic information related to PVTG mission and the status and what has been the criteria behind these PVTG nomenclature. So while we mentioned that Debhar Commission opted for certain criteria, these four are the major criteria for categorizing some group as PVTG. First is forest dependent livelihood based on the collection of forest produce, Okay, so it is basically the forest dependent livelihood. If any community exhibits a livelihood purely based on the forests, they along with pre-agricultural level of existence, that is practices like shift and burn agriculture practice, as you might be aware of the term jhoom, or gathering or hunting. Why they have been termed as pre-agricultural level? Because uh, these practices do not involve the modern agricultural practices or the tools. They are based, hunting and gathering are considered as pre-agricultural level of practices. Okay, further there is another criteria that their population is either stagnant, it is neither increasing or decreasing or declining altogether. And lastly, the group must exhibit a low literacy rate. Now, if all these four criterias are fulfilled, the tribe or the group can be termed as PVTGs. Okay, so as we discussed and mentioned earlier, that PVTG is a sub part of tribal groups. So we must cover the aspect of tribal population in India. So before discussing anything, we must look into the salient features of the tribes in India. Okay. So the first is they are segmentary but egalitarian. What is segmentary? They are found in small groups, sections. Okay. And they are kind of they are characterized by remoteness, inaccessibility. Okay. And they live in small communities. Like if you can take 2 3 names of tribal groups, they are living in groups. They are they have structured their social aspect into segments or sections. Okay, but these sections boast egalitarian ethos, like equality. Okay, there is equality of status among these sections. So there is no segregation that you belong to upper caste, another person belong to lower caste, one is landlord, another is like doing all the petty works. No, in those sections they boast egalitarian ethos, they boast equality. And what how it helps them? It helps them in cooperation, as well as it helps them in solving disputes through consensus. Okay, and that is how they have maintained their existence throughout the history. Okay, second point is they are not mutually interdependent as the caste system is. In your modern day society, you will see there is segregation based on caste, varna system, whatever you may say it. Caste based segregation is there, but there is a mutual interdependence. Somebody is doing this work, somebody is doing that work. However, it has been diluted these days. But yes, still, if you will go to rural India, there is a clear cut interdependence between the caste, that somebody is associated with particular kind of job. But this is not visible in these segments. Okay, if you will name two tribes, like if you will name Gond tribe and Toda tribe, they are not mutually interdependent, they are a self-sufficient system altogether. Fine, so that is their another important feature. Third is they have no intermediary between themselves and the land they use or cultivate. So they have a direct access to the land. Okay, and as we discussed, one of the criteria that pre-agricultural level of existence, they are sustained by relatively primitive subsistence technology like hunting, gathering, jhoom cultivation, slash and burn, which we call. Another very important feature is they follow animism as form of religion. Now, what is animism? Animism is revering the nature. So you will find them praying trees. You will find them. You might have heard about sacred groves. You will find them praying rain. Okay. So if you can recall, UPSC asked a question based on Gond tribes where they gave uh, a description of their practice of planting trees. Okay. So this is the a very peculiar feature of tribal groups, that they follow animism as a form of religion, and it is not just related to their religious outlook. It also helps in shaping their perspective towards environmental conservation, because they revere nature as god. So they are always very close to the environment and its conservation efforts. Fine. Another important feature is that monogamy, polygamy, as well as polyandry are prevalent in tribal society. Polyandry is one woman marrying multiple males. Okay, so there are tribes like Toda in Nilgiris and Khasa in the state of Uttarakhand, where brothers marry a single woman, and this is an age old tradition through which they kind of strengthen their interpersonal bonds. Okay, so this is pretty much prevalent in tribals. And another feature is that most of the tribes are patrilineal, but tribes like Garo, Khasi, and Jaintia matrilineal is also prevalent, where women is a leader of the family as against the patrilineal setup of the family. Okay, so these are some salient features of tribes in India, and that brings us to the challenges faced by the tribes in India. And the first challenge is the loss of communal rights over forests. Okay, so there are various legislations. Recently in DNS session, you discussed about the Forest Rights Act and other acts related to this encroachment over the right of tribe, because they have the traditional right, they have the traditional basis of their livelihood on the basis of the forest produce. Their activities were based on the forest itself. Okay, so there are several legislations and regulations which deprive them their from their community rights over forest produce. And what happens that when you are deprived of your right to livelihood, you are bound to shift. Okay, another reason is that most of the tribal habitations, the areas of their habitation coincides with mineral rich areas of India. If you can just recall that the mineral rich belt of Chota Nagpur plateau, now we discussed that Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, now these all are mineral rich states. Now, it is a critical issue that the inhabitants of this area are tribes, and these areas have long been associated with minerals, ores, and minerals. Now, there comes a conflict between development and the economic need. So, coupled with these regulations which devoid them from the rights over forest produce, plus the mining activity, the exploration of minerals activity, it makes them to take up the forced migration from their age old ancestral land. And you will find this data very interesting, that this tribal population forms 9% of, as per the 2011 census, tribal population forms 9% of India's total population. But if you will consider the displaced population, they constitute around 50%. Half of the displaced persons are tribals. So now, when your livelihood is gone, your land is gone, you are bound to practice the bonded labor, and indebtedness is just one of the outcome of it. Okay. Another challenge is both NFHS 4 as well as 5 has evidence and have provided data where it shows that the health indicators of tribals are way below the general population. The child mortality rate, the under 5 mortality rate, or anemic women, ratio of anemic women, all these indicators are higher in tribal population as when compared to the normal population. And so is true with the literacy rate. Okay, while we have a general average of 73% of literates in India, tribal population boasts just 59% of literacy rate. It further continues in the sphere of poverty also, both in urban and rural area. The percentage of tribals who are existing below the poverty line are much higher than the other section of the population, and in some cases it is almost double. Okay. And another issue, when you have been removed from your ancestral land, you have been removed from your age old practices, then what will happen? You are going to assimilate, or you will try to get assimilated to the mainstream. Now you don't have literacy, you don't have money, you don't have livelihood. Okay, you don't have good health indices. Now what will happen? Ultimately you will be marginalized. You will be looked upon as a marginalized. There would be discrimination in the mainstream, and which will result into the loss of tribal culture and identity altogether. Okay. And here you can very well quote example of Bonda tribe, which was displaced due to mining activities, and is now facing erosion of their tribal culture altogether. Now, another issue is which is quite similar to what women face. That apart from the reserved seats, there is very low representation of women, or you can say, apart from the reserved seats, women find it very difficult to get elected to the uh, parliament or state legislature. Same is true with the tribes. Apart from the reserved seat, it is almost a rarity that you will find a tribal person winning an election. Okay. And you can quote here the Thura tribe in UP, or you may say the Terai regions. Okay, they have a very low political representation. So these are the challenges that this Haka committee also found, observed, and other studies have also found. So, in order to provide a comprehensive answer, you must provide a comprehensive solution. And this is the best practice if you can quote some recommendations of committees which are appointed by the government itself, as you always prefer to recommend Sarkaria Commission's recommendation, Panchi Commission recommendation, or in case of agriculture, you try to give recommendations of MS Swaminathan Committee. So in this case, you can use the Virginia's Haka Committee's recommendation to comprehensively cover your answer. Okay, so he gave recommendation basically on the four categories, which is livelihood, education, health, and land alienation. So for livelihood, the committee recommended that first thing, they should be provided with agro based training institutes in their vicinity. Okay. Secondly, it says that they must be trained into the sectors like food processing, which is quite close to what has been their way of life. The agro based trainings, the food processing industry. Second suggestion the committee gives is they must practice micro level watershed planning so that they can improve their productivity. And why it is important? Because then the conflict between the conservation of forest or the land for living can be sorted out, because you have a raised productivity level in the farm size that you are having. Okay. Thirdly, it says that they must be, uh, you may say, incentivized for opting organic farming. Okay. For education, the committee recommends some interesting point, and it highlights one concern that because these tribes are mostly, and the PVTGs in particular, are located in a remote location, which are inaccessible. Okay, or difficult to access. So, a normal teacher or a lecturer would desist from going there and would not like to go there and serve. So, the committee suggests that hire local people as teachers and principals. Okay. Secondly, it says that your curriculum should include the local folklores, the history, the culture, and what will it do? It will instill a sense of belonging, and it will make the study interesting altogether. And like the first suggestion that hire the local people, same is true for the health sector altogether. Okay. So again, it says that hire and train the local people apart from conserving their age old traditional medicine knowledge. Okay. Sorry. So as I said earlier, that solution lies in multidisciplinary solution. You have to address various aspects. You cannot just address school education without providing roads, without providing electricity. You cannot address health issues without providing the manpower, without providing the necessary hours of electricity in the primary healthcare centers. You cannot impart modern education without the use of internet. Okay. So that is why this scheme, that PM PVTG mission, is quite in line with the recommendations of the Khaka Commission. Another very important recommendation is related to land alienation, where Khaka Committee recommends that PESA Act of 1996 should be amended. Okay. And Gram Sabha should be provided with powers to take cognizance of issues related to land grab of tribals, should be investigating agency, should be the you may say the agency that will bring back the land of the tribal to the tribal. So it says that Gram Sabha should be empowered. Further, the committee recommends that there are several loopholes in the existing law. For example, the law says that land can be transferred for rehabilitation of refugees or making housing projects. Now, these loopholes are very well exploited in the Indian scheme of affairs. So, Khaka Committee recommends that these loopholes should be removed. This land transfer should be banned and barred altogether. Okay, so these were the suggestions related to Khaka committee regarding the issues and challenges that the tribal population faces in India. Excuse me, just so the next topic from the mains perspective, and the last topic of today's session is inspired from this news article which featured on page number 8 of the Hindu newspaper. So this news article basically sheds light on a very important perspective that since we claim that and government of India has stated its aim to move towards cooperative federalism. Okay. And that is why the planning commission was replaced with the Niti Ayog, with the uh, formation of Niti Ayog. So it is a government stated aim to move towards cooperative federalism. But the intensity and frequency between the regarding the tussle between center and state has raised some concern that where are we leading ourselves? Are we truly leading towards a cooperative federalism, or we are just doing the reverse of our aim? An author of this article highlights several issues and says that these frictions, these turbulence between center and state may result in huge economic cost to the country altogether. Okay, so while discussing this, you know that your GS paper 2 says specifically mentions issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, and further the topic of federalism is pretty much important from the perspective of mains examination also. As you can see, in 2015 UPSC has asked a question based on the concept of cooperative federalism, and it says that the concept of cooperative federalism has been increasingly emphasized in recent years. You have to highlight the drawbacks in the existing structure of federalism, cooperative federalism, and the extent to which cooperative federalism would answer the shortcoming. Okay. Again, UPSC in 2020 asked a question based on GST that explained the rationale behind Goods and Services Act of 2017. How has COVID 19 impacted the GST compensation fund and created new federal tension? Okay. So, here in this discussion, we will be covering the areas of friction of economic issues and what are the outcomes of these frictions, how they are impacting various aspects, and we will end this discussion with a brief way forward. So before moving on to that, what is just understand what is federalism. Now, for a general understanding or in crude, one may say that rule of two government, one at center and second at state. Now, this would not be a complete definition because in that case, even China has two level of government. Okay, so federalism is a shared way of governance. Okay, because there are two reasons for it. First is the geographical extent. If a country spans the geographical span of a country is way too large, it is tough for a central authority to coordinate all its effort in an you may say in an organic manner or a seamless manner, as you can refer to USSR. Now, you can just refer to the size of USSR. What happened there? There was a huge centralization, over centralization. Rift arose, which resulted into fragmentation of one of the strongest country of that time. Okay. So geographically India is a big country. Second reason to opt for this federalism is the cultural diversity. Now, it is not just about the geographical location and what are the state boundaries. There are some social imperative to it. Okay. Now, a person of Nagaland, Manipur, or a person of Tamil Nadu, Kerala has some kind of social being altogether. They have something which is unique to their culture. Now, which a center may not understand or may not have a good hold over. So it is kind of an arrangement. Okay, this is an area where you have expertise and I must not intervene. So you take care of it. Secondly, there are some area which think that there should be a coherent policy and coherent action plan. So some part is resting with center. Now there are several conditions. Two prerequisite for a federation to exist is the written constitution. Okay, and in that written constitution you must have a clear cut delineation of power between two authorities. Okay, so we have both, and this is why there is a federalism, and there are various reasons due to which the strain comes in the issue of federalism or cooperative federalism. But in this discussion we will be covering the economic aspect of it, that how economy is playing a role in creating a tussle or a friction in the uh, matter of cooperative, the intended aim of cooperative federalism. Okay, so now, as this article says that friction is there, there is an economic cost. Let's understand this with an example. Why not? If there is a plan, if a broader level of plan, just imagine if we center government plans to make a highway, a four-lane highway. Okay. Now, central government is making the plan. Now, central government is allocating the fund, but highway is going to come up in certain state, or you may say one or two state. Okay, so state has a major role to play. Now if you are not on the same page with that of the state due to any reason, maybe state is concerned with the plan altogether, state wants to reorient the direction of the plan, or n number of reasons can be there. Okay, so just imagine your planning, your money, that is center. Now state is not on the same page. What would it result? It would result in the pendency or delaying of the project, which will further result into the cost overruns. Okay, and at some point of time it is a very big possibility that project itself becomes unviable. Okay, so this is the basic premise, but we will take up other issues in detail, that what are the economic concerns and how they are impacting. So let us begin our discussion with the first part of the discussion, that is areas of friction in economic issues. Okay, so first is central dominance in the fiscal transfer. Now, earlier what used to happen, that non tax indirect tax, sorry, indirect revenue from the indirect tax was earlier mostly was in the hand of the states. Now with the coming of GST, the thing has been, you may say, the responsibility lies with the GST council, and in this council the center has a veto. So the revenue part, most of the most of the indirect revenue that states were getting till date is gone with the center. Now there is no autonomy altogether, because now you will be dependent upon what center will decide. Okay, and that brings us to the second point, that is lack of autonomy in public expenditure policies. Now center is promoting various or rather say improving various investment policies. Okay, it is coming up with the good investment to boost investment in various states, fine. But the public expenditure, which we covered in the first point, that the revenue from the indirect taxes is now at the mercy of the center. So that part of the expenditure is gone. The states have lost their autonomy. Now they have to they have to adhere to the directives, or you may say instruction of the center. Okay, next is there are controversial legislation, and club it with the second point, that is functioning of regulatory institutions also. Now what is happening, that recently you might have heard about the NCT Amendment Act, the National Capital Territory Amendment Act. Now what happened, that this act changed the system of control over the administrative officers of New Delhi. Okay, now these changes can result into can have an impact over the overall economic policy or the roadmap of a state. Okay, further, there have been like, take for example that functioning of regulatory, if you consider the Central Electricity Regulatory Authority. Okay, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission and State Electricity Regulatory Commission. I'm just giving one example to make things clear. Now, central regulator would try to emphasize upon the financial prudency of the system altogether. They will be more concerned about the profitability. They may be more concerned about the financial viability of the electricity boards, while state electricity regulatory may be concerned with the welfare efforts of the state government. Now, take a case of Punjab, where there is a huge subsidy on electricity bill. Now, there is going to be a tussle between the central authority and the state authority. Same is true with the various new developments, like central government created National Medical Commission. Now, a state likes Tamil Nadu have criticized this move and said that moving away from MCI, that is Medical Council of India, is equivalent to taking their autonomy in the matters of education. Now, education is a state subject. Fine. Same is true with the agriculture. Now that brings us to the next point, that is homogenization of social sector policies and schemes. Okay, now education is a state subject, agriculture is a state subject, but schemes like PM Kisan or the farm laws, state sees these they allege these steps as encroachment upon their right to decide. Okay, and if you can recall the latest tussle of central government with West Bengal government over Ayushman Bharat scheme also, health is again a matter of state subject, but who is legislating? Center. Now issue is such that even if they will try to move a bit from these policies or the schemes, the funds are blocked. Recently, Telangana government tried to change the name of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and immediately center stopped the funding. the flow of funds for that scheme. Okay, so basically the autonomy is gone. What states allege that we have no autonomy to decide upon things through your controversial legislation, functioning of your regulatory bodies. You are homogenizing the social sector policies and schemes which are not concerned about the local issues. They are not taking care of the local concern or the local aspirations. You are trying to provide a one size fits all kind of policies. Okay, now another issue is the tussle due to the confrontation in the powers of the central and state agencies. Now there have been in last past 1 year there have been several instances where a CBI or ED team or an income tax team has reached to a premise for search, and they have been abruptly blocked by the local police. Okay, and instances were so ugly that there were fist fights and complete blockade, then calling to officers to the central home ministry, summoning them. All these happened, and these are restraining further, these are straining these relations further. Fine. So there is another allegation that that becomes an area of friction is allegation that central government is favoring some states for the allocation of critical projects, and best example is tussle over gift city. Okay, now Mumbai being the financial capital, still this gift city was transferred or planned in Gujarat. Okay, further those parties which are in opposition or the opposition ruled states are alleging central government that they are diverting the funds towards the states where their party is ruling, and they are misappropriating the allocations. They are giving more weightage or more, you may say, they are favoring to the states where their party is the ruling party. So these are the areas of friction between center and states. Okay, so what is the outcome? First outcome is when if these allegations are true, and if there are instances like a finalized project is shifting to some other state, or a fund is being allocated to some other state, it will result into crowding out of the state from the planning process. Okay, they will be out from the decision making process. Now just consider an example, PM Gati Shakti. Now how can one imagine completion or success of this program when there is no equal, or you may say active participation of a state is there? Fine. Second is, as the allegation that there are favoritism, funds are getting concentrated in few big states like Maharashtra, UP, and Gujarat. Other states are just in search of funds or the allocation of their share, or they are complaining for the blocked flow of funds to their state from the center. Okay, which in turn reduces the capacities of other states to come up to match up the leading states. Okay, because the revenue part is gone, the revenue receipt is down, you have lost the autonomy, you are kind of at mercy of the center, and allocation is not being done properly, so your own capacity is bound to reduce with time. Okay, then there is another outcome that in general, as we discussed, the central government policies and planning look after a broader perspective, and it is somewhere related to the concerns of the global economy. Okay, But one cannot claim this aim as wrong to assimilate or align your policy with the global economy. But what is wrong if when you ignore the regional needs and regional aspirations? Now, whatever is your planning, it should encompass the aspect of regional aspirations also. Okay, so that is another outcome. Now, as we talked about the cooperative federalism, competitive federalism, now just reverse is happening. Now, there is an ugly fiscal competition. States are fighting among themselves to get a project. Okay. Recently, the Vedanta Foxconn project. Again, an issue between Maharashtra and Gujarat. At last moment, this project shifted to Gujarat. Now, what we expected that states will learn from the better performing states and will inculcate a spirit of competitive federalism. It has turned into an ugly fiscal competition where states are fighting to get projects. Okay, so this is another outcome, and there is, in retaliation, you can say, or you may say, in this chaos, states are coming up with the parallel policies. Okay, you all are aware of the debate of NPS versus OPS. Several states refuse to apply NPS, and now government itself is going to take back the NPS altogether. So these are the culmination of these strained relationship where state governments are coming up with the parallel policies in complete in like completely defying the center. Okay, altogether. Okay, and lastly, as we saw that here that areas of friction, that there is lack of autonomy in public expenditure policy, the outcome is there is a reduced spending in welfare sector, because most of the time states are bound by the directives and instruction of center. Okay, so they cannot give preference to their planning and aspirations, whatever their pole plank is, whatever their regional issues are. There is reduced level of welfare spending. So now you all would have understand that in federalism, over centralization is not a requirement, and so is true with the chaotic decentralization. You cannot decentralization way too much just to create a chaotic scenario where everyone is aspiring for new thing every other day. So what is the way forward? Way forward is a balanced approach where you must be a center must be aware, or you may say considerate enough about the requirement and aspirations of the states, as well as state must be considerate about the obligations of the center, and the national perspective must be looked upon. In line with that, you can suggest following three way forward to provide a holistic answer. First is there is need to give a greater flexibility, as we talk, to states in matter related to at least state and concurrent lists. Okay, for making better center state relation as suggested by the Panchi Commission. Okay, second is you must have a good regulatory body, an oversight body which must promote engagement, dialogue, consensus. So here comes the interstate council, that adequate utilization of forums like interstate council should be done, as again recommended by Panchi Commission. Now GST is a successful example, okay, by many means. Now another suggestion is that GST Council as framework for cooperation of indirect taxation can be emulated can be replicated in other domains of economic policies to bring both states and center on the same page. Okay, so these are the way forward which you can write while writing your answers. I hope this is clear to you all. And that's all for today's session. Stay tuned for more such updates. Thank you.